Hey you guys, what is up? It's Antonio. Welcome back to another episode here on Gladiator Disc Golf. Today we're talking about one of the most important movements in all of disc golf, engaging the hips. Now if you're like me, you've struggled with engaging your hips pretty much since the day you started playing disc golf, or at least at some point in your disc golf journey, this was something you struggled with. Engaging the hips is something that we all know how to do. It's just really hard to sometimes put it into action with disc golf. This has been a frustration of mine for a really long time, is knowing, like when I go to practice swinging a baseball bat, I feel my hips engage. But sometimes when I go to throw the backhand, I don't feel my hips getting engaged, and it's really frustrating because mentally I know how to do it, but physically it's not happening. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the science behind engaging the hips, what it's doing in our disc golf throw, and how we can implement it better in our game. So first things first, when it comes to engaging the hips, we have to understand that proper engagement of the hips requires your entire body and everything falling in line. Now that doesn't mean that you will automatically engage your hips if your shoulders and back are rotating well and your arms coming across your loading zone or power pocket. It's not necessarily going to automatically do that, but in order to properly engage your hips, if everything else about your throw is off time, it's going to be really challenging to engage your hips because it's not going to follow smoothly. So with that being said, it's important that as you're working on engaging your hips and getting things worked out correctly, that you also have the timing of your entire throw being worked out as well. This is part of the reason why engaging your hips is so tough, because you can't just focus on the one thing unless you have everything else down pat. And in most cases, if you're struggling with engaging your hips, you don't have everything else down pat. So what are the hips supposed to help with? Well, the hips are built right above our brace. And now I know maybe that language is a little weird since our hip is literally connected to our plant leg, but think about it like building blocks. That hip is built above your leg, which is bracing it. And so in order to engage those hips, you have to have a strong brace. So it starts on the ground. Your feet need to be perpendicular to the target that you're throwing. Once your foot is perpendicular to the target, you need to make sure that when you plant that foot for your throw, that you do not rotate on your heel until your hips are being engaged. That will kind of help you start to piece things together. Engaging of hips does not necessarily mean rotating the hips. Okay? The initial movement with your hips is actually a forward movement. You're kind of locking your hips into your brace position. At the moment that your hips are kind of being locked into this brace position, your arm and your disc should be coming and forming a box with your chest. Now, some people call this the power pocket. Some people call this the loading zone, the loading pocket, the power zone, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter the name that you give it, but as long as you have this being formed right here, this box, that's the most important thing. So when your hips are coming forward at this point, you should be entering into this box. And that's because as you are engaging your hips, they're going to be shifting forward, which means the disc is getting ready to pop out of this power pocket or loading zone. And so it's important that this timing syncs up. This timing is just as important as when your plant foot and your reach back or your reaching out, okay, is supposed to be at the same time. These two movements are supposed to be timed exactly the same as well. And then from here, once you've propelled your hips forward into your brace, hardly any time passes to where your back, your torso, and your shoulders should be rotating the disc out to about 10 o'clock, okay? It's really important that this all happens at the same time, that rotation, in order for the disc to get maximum power and maximum torque into it. Now, all of this has to happen in basically a fraction of a second, okay? And that's why it's so tough. This is a full body movement. We haven't even talked about the non-throwing arm, the trail arm, which is just so important. in this throw. And if you want to know more about what to do with your trail arm and your non-throwing arm, go ahead and like this video. It lets me know that you guys want to see more content, and it helps me with the analytics. I truly appreciate it. So what makes this really tough? Well, when your hips are moving forward, notice how I talked about your torso, your shoulders, and your back rotating. So we have this forward propulsion with this rotating top. And all these pieces built on together is why the timing can be so difficult. And that's why it takes practice, and let's be honest, that's why a lot of us have gotten frustrated at one time or another with the backhand throw. There's a lot that goes into it with this forward hip movement and then the rotation of your torso to get the disc to fly exactly how you want. It's not something that's going to come in one practice session, and for some people like myself, it's going to take a long time. There are days where my backhand is a lot cleaner and a lot crisper than other days. And that's one thing that I found, and I've spoken with people in different disc golf communities. The backhand is one of those things where when you're not practicing it, it's a lot easier to lose your mojo and everything with that and your form. Whereas with the forehand, it seems that you can go like 2 months without throwing the forehand, and then you can start throwing it again, and it's like you never missed a day of practice. So for some reason, the disc golf is very persnickety and tough to just, dial in. And when you're not throwing it for a while, you tend to lose a little bit of your touch. That's why we need to keep practicing and keep working and get better every single day. With that being said, practice is super important, and if you want to know the best ways to practice and you want a schedule curated for you, go ahead and check out this video. I came out with this video a few weeks ago, and in the description you will find practice schedules that are available to you guys that you can make a copy of and start using on your own time. And that's basically it, guys. Sometimes just understanding what our hips are supposed to do is the key to unlocking the proper engagement. Remember, your hips need to start moving forward, and then on your follow through, your hips will rotate around. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments below, what are some things that have helped you with disc golf form and learning how to properly engage your hips. Make sure you like the video, comment down below, and see you next time, guys. Have a great round.